everybody. We're going to be getting straight into it. We're talking about Spinda, okay? Before I get into everything, I literally just said I'm getting straight into it, but I lied. Before I get into it, check the description down below. There is a very detailed Google Sheet down below. You can click that, and it'll link you straight to all these changes. You can look at everything for yourself, including all of the new moves and all of the move buffs and all the other Pokemon buffs and all of this crazy stuff. It's not your average ROM hack, so if you're new and you're clicking on this just because you saw Spinda in the thumbnail, welcome, hello. Again, this is not your average ROM hack. Everything is reworked or changed in some regard and buffed, and everything is a lot stronger. And so, just make sure you get that a look if this interests you at one point during the video or after the video. Thank you very much. So, Spinda was garbage. Absolute shit. We all know that. But of course, in this hack, the power levels are very high, and every Pokemon is designed to be viable, and every Pokemon has two great abilities that it can switch between with Ability Capsule, which is infinite use in this hack. And they have all these awesome options they can choose from. And I've also taken careful consideration to make sure that Pokemon don't outclass one another. And so, I had to make sure that Spinda was no exception to that. So Spinda major changes. So they're like a better version of Indeedee for most of the game that can use Contrary for some utility stuff, and then late game is when you get the nutty Contrary shit. So yes, normal Psychic typing. I think that fits pretty damn well, at least for a ROM hack. What the fuck? The music just turned off really quickly. Unexpected. Sorry. So yeah, its whole thing is about like being confused all the time, and it learns a lot of psychic type moves, especially via egg move and by TM, and then a couple by a level up like Psybeam and Hypnosis. So I think the psychic typing fits well enough for a ROM hack, and it helps it stand apart from the 19 pure normal types. Although there are a good amount of normal psychic types actually. I believe there are 5 currently, and I had to make sure that those didn't outclass one another. And I think I'm doing a good job, a very good job. For example, the other ones I can think of right now is like Stantler currently. Stantler is one of them right now, I believe, and Stantler is a lot faster and stronger without Contrary or Psychic Surge. Obviously, with Psychic Surge, Spinda is actually stronger when it comes to using Psychic moves than Stantler is, and of course, Stantler has the utility with Energy Shield and Intimidate. Spinda has its own stuff. So Spinda, obviously, it keeps Contrary, and Contrary is massively buffed. So basically, normal Psychic Surge, you're basically Indeedee, okay? It's a stronger version of Indeedee, because if you look at female Indeedee, pretty sure your stats are overall better. I think you might have a slightly worse stat on one stat. What was the good one again? Which one's the good one? I forget. I think the male one is the good one. Yeah, male one is the good one. Male Indeedee, same speed, same speed F, 10 less special attack, but you do have 10 more HP, 15 more attack, and 25 more defense. So you are overall much tankier than Indeedee, in exchange for being slightly weaker especially, but much stronger physically. And that's great because Spinda is a great mixed attacker. In this hack, not only do you have access to infinite use ability capsules, you also have access to instant EV training, so you can easily switch between a physical and a special set depending on the occasion. Spinda is a great support Pokemon. It's also just a very great, powerful offensive Pokemon because Contrary has tons of new moves that work with it. So for late game, you can abuse the hell out of Contrary once you get the Pony Island and you get all those moves. However, I did give it access to Psycho Warp, which is Psychic type close combat at level 45, which is much earlier than most Pokemon. In the mid-40s, you'll be on probably like mid-Ula Ula Island. You'll be like, that'll be like pre-Nanu, for example. Not that you would use Psycho Warp on Nanu, obviously, but that's, pre-Guzma and Po Town, that kind of thing. That time period, so that's great. That will let you, basically Psycho Warp and Strength are both close combat variants that you get access to, which are both stab. Strength is normal type close combat, and then Psycho Warp is psychic type close combat, so you use that. And then with Contrary, you get +1 to both your defenses, which is great. You also have these moves that drop your special attack or attack by 2. So Giga Impact and Hyper Beam are both stab moves that are 160 base power, and when you click it, you get +2 attack or special attack. So you slap a Choice Scarf on your fucking Spinda and you spam Hyper Beam or Giga Impact, and you can honestly just sweep battles with that. It's insane. The only drawback is that those moves only have 5 PP. So if you're running a Scarf set, for example, you might have to switch out or switch back in, or you might struggle or only be able to kill 5 Pokemon unless you use one of your limited PP maxes. Those are not purchasable for a reason, because I don't want people maxing out PP too much, because PP is supposed to be a little bit more scarce in this hack, which is why there's also moves that have less than 5 PP now. But yeah, Hyper Beam, Giga Impact by TM are incredible. Those are also pretty early on. Those are as soon as you get to Pony Island, so probably like in the early mid 50s. Probably mid 50s by the time you get to Pony Island, and that's great. And then you also get Superpower by a level up, which is also a post-game tutor move. Most tutor moves are all great. There's only a few good ones that are post-game. All of the good tutor moves are mostly just in the real game, like in the main game. But yeah, Superpower gives you +2 attack like Giga Impact does, and that's great coverage. And then and then you have Psycho Boost, which is the same as Hyper Beam but slightly weaker, but of course that is Psychic type, and that will also give you +2 special attack. So Psycho Boost, Hyper Beam, or Giga Impact, Superpower, Strength, and Psycho Warp. You have much more contrary options on the physical side, but your physical attack stat is 15 points lower than your special attack stat, so I think it is a fair trade-off there, a very fair trade-off. You should totally, honestly, run like Giga Impact plus Strength plus Psycho Warp. Like you can run Psycho Warp Psycho Warp, Giga Impact, Superpower. You know, like you can get the bulk and you can get the attack, and you can just become unkillable and unbeatable. It's really, really awesome. Obviously, you do need something to boost your speed. In that case, like a Scarf, or you know, sticky webs on a team support type deal, because otherwise you're not really going to be that quick. Although 95 speed is solid, but you're going to be needing Scarf to outspeed most things in this hack with Contrary, because without Contrary, excuse me. Oh, speaking of, yeah, this is new. If you're new here, sorry, if you're a returning viewer, I did make a little cheat sheet for all of the type changes, so you can look at that if that appeals to you. But obviously, this is just a cheat sheet thing. It's not actually to like look at it in depth. But yeah, speed tier guide is what I meant to click on. That's what a speed tier guide used to be. So you can see here, it does speed tie with a lot of Pokemon. If this would load, thank you, 95. But yeah, you might be thinking, okay, well, basically the whole game you're running Psychic Surge. Psychic Surge is great even once you have access to Contrary, because it's just really strong. Not to mention it makes you immune to stuff like First Impression, which is a very common attacking move now that most Pokemon have access to. So you're completely immune to First Impression and Sucker Punch, which you are normally weak to. So that's incredible. You can also just use that plus U-turn or Eject Button to get a teammate in to abuse Psychic Terrain if you don't want to abuse it yourself. Either way, it's a great option. But you have to keep in mind that you also can't use priority moves when you're in terrain, so that's might be a downside. For example, if you want to use like a sweeping set with like Contrary, Giga Impact plus Think Fast, which is Think Fast is a physical priority psychic type move, or Influx or Swift, which are both priority moves, plus Hyper Beam. You know, you can't really do that with Psychic Surge. You'll be using that with Contrary. Sorry, you can't do that with Contrary. You'll be using that with Psychic Surge is what I meant to say. The Hyper Beam stuff you'll be using with Contrary, okay, but the Psychic Surge stuff you can use actual setup moves like Calm Mind, Bulk Up, and Swords Dance. Excuse me, I just coughed straight into the mic. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. You do have access to a lot of other really great utility and support moves. You also have incredible coverage, as you can see here. All kinds of coverage, all kinds of things. You can use like Giga Impact plus Drain Punch, for example, plus like Strength or Psycho Warp and get super tanky and heal up. So like once you hit 45, obviously that's like 10 levels before you get any of the other Contrary moves. Then you can use Drain Punch plus Psycho Warp, for example, become very tanky and strong. So that's always really fun. Another thing to keep in mind is that Contrary is not only good for those moves. Contrary is also good because you can switch your Spinda in on a stat dropping move and get a boost. And there are a lot of moves that always drop stats now. For example, Battle Cry is a common one that drops the opponent's offensive stats by 2. So you switch your Spinda in on a Battle Cry, now you're +2 in both your attacking stats. And there's tons more new moves that are widespread that are great stat dropping moves to deal with all of the high power threats in this hack. Not to mention simple parting shots, like most Pokemon have access to parting shot now via TM. Switch your Spinda in on that. Excuse me. That hurts. Switch your Spinda in on that and you get +1 to both your offenses, that kind of thing. So Contrary is very good for a Call Island especially, because a lot of Pokemon have stat dropping moves on their learn sets at that point in time. So, you know, you switch it in on a Big Tears or a Tickle or a Wish, or not a Wish, but you get the idea. You get a stat boost, which is always great. And you do have access to the Infinite Ability Capsule. So, you know, let's say up until you get Psycho Warp, you'll be running Contrary maybe 20% of the time at most. You know, because it is situational until you get those moves, but it's still a great ability nonetheless in those situations, which is why you have the ability capsule to switch between them. Again, great stats, switch between the EVs depending on the fight. You know, one fight you run physical, next fight you run special, simple as that. They also have access to a Z Omni boosting move, which I give to a lot of Pokemon, but it's especially great on Spinda because you do have Z Spotlight, which is useless in singles, but it will give you a +1 to all your stats boost, and then you can click Stored Power, and Stored Power is now buffed to give you a +1 special attack boost for each use. However, it only has 3 PP, so Spinda can get up that stored power, that Z Spotlight under Psychic Surge or Psychic Terrain, and now you have a Psychic Surge boosted unlimited +1 special attack, 120 base power stored power that will get even stronger each time you click it. That's an insane sweeping tool, insane. And you can pair that with any covered move you'd like, or any other moves you would like. You could also technically baton pass those boosts. However, keep in mind baton pass is negative priority now, so you are gonna have to take another hit. And the climate in this hack is not very friendly towards setup. You can still get it off in a lot of fights. It just, you need a lot more preparation. You can't blindly just click setup moves and win the fight. Setup moves have nurse PP. There's a lot of phasing options. There's a lot of unaware Pokemon, a lot of ways to stop you from boosting up in general. The high power levels will make it hard to have a free turn to set up, that kind of thing. Obviously, if you're smart about it and you have the right matchup, you can always set up, but it's just a lot less brain dead as it used to be in the regular game. And even in a lot of ROM hacks, it's still so fucking easy to set up, and it makes the game easy as hell. So that's awesome, but there was one other thing I wanted to cover on Spinda, and I lost it. My train of thought. I don't know. There was some move. Oh, actually, this is unrelated, but I did also, if you are familiar with my work and you've been listening to these videos just in the background, big update. Well, not a big one, but an important change. I made Roar and Whirlwind 3 PP instead of 1, so those are priority moves now, and that just makes it a little bit more useful. Because one PP was a little bit too harsh. Like, I don't know, I was worried about people like spamming it to get like stealth rock damage and spikes damage and T-spikes for free, but 3 uses is totally reasonable in my opinion. You can use that to cycle through the opponent's team. You can use that just to stop sweeps, for example, with an unaware mon, or any mon really, with a focus sash. You can click that once and then, it's kind of like a get out of jail free card. Not to mention those Z effects are still incredible, but this is not relevant because Spinda doesn't get either of those moves. Other good stuff. Spinda can use Rapid Spin plus Bulk Up or Rapid Spin plus Swords Dance. Rapid Spin will give it a +2 speed boost now. Obviously, you have to use that on a Psychic Surge set, but that's still great. Psychic Surge plus Bulk Up or Swords Dance or Calm Mind plus, that. Or you can also, of course, use Agility, but Rapid Spin's cool because it's 75 base power, including Stab, and, it's pretty damn strong, actually, considering what it does. That's really cool. And you can actually do that with no speed investment as well. You do have Wish for healing. I didn't really think Slack Off fit that well, and I was considering Recover, but I think Wish is fine enough. Wish is fine. You also have Z Copycat and Z Teeter Dance for earlier in the game. Z Teeter Dance gives you +2 special attack. Z Copycat gives you +2 attack. And it's also really good because it copies the opponent's move, whatever. Revelation Dance is cool for normal type special stab, because otherwise their only normal type stab move after Swift is for specials, is Hyper Voice, which is relatively late. It's in Ulula, so it's not that early. Revelation Dance is 5 base power, weakened Hyper Voice, but it does have a 50% chance to boost your special attack stat, which is great for Psychic Surge sets. Topsy-Turvy is incredible utility for... I feel so weird talking without music once the music is like transitioning. Is it just like cursed as well to listen to me with no music in the background? Hopefully not. Did the video end? Oh, it ended. That's my bad. All right, we're good now. Shut up, Pikachu. So yeah, Topsy-Turvy is incredible utility as well. You can even use like a Psychic Surge, Endure, Lychee Berry Flail set, and then you're immune to priority, so you can't be picked off when you're on 1 HP, and you can use Flail with like Swords Dance, for example, Focus Sash, Flail, Swords Dance, Psychic Surge. That's great. And then you're immune to First Impression and Sucker Punch and all these other common priority moves. Not to mention every Pokemon does have priority moves of their own. Like by level up, they all get stab priority moves for the most part. Yeah, Trick Room is really useful. Trick Room is a positive priority now, so you can use Trick Room plus Eject Button. The downside being it has very limited distribution, but on the Pokemon that do get it, it's great. I give it to Spinda pretty early. Most Pokemon usually get it in the mid-40s or even 50s, or even later, depending on the Pokemon. But I give it to Spinda pretty early because you do have a lot of 4 move slot syndrome, and so I wanted to make it earlier on, just as like a little buff and, cool little option. You can use like Trick Room for a couple of boss fights in those levels, and then maybe eventually delete it for other moves later on. It's up to you. I think that's low-key it. I think I covered everything pretty thoroughly. Let me see. Yeah, it is. Again, it's just a better version of Indeedee with Psychic Surge, and then it's great with Contrary, and then late game, it's a fucking menace with Contrary, fucking almost borderline busted. But that speed does hold it back. If you read this, I'm sure you know already that I did make it so Contrary Pokemon don't have over 100 speed just for balancing reasons. But that doesn't change the fact that you can just slap a Scarf on them or use priority moves. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm gonna end the video off here. Hopefully this was a satisfying thing. I hope I didn't rush it too much. I also like how the stats are relatively even still, because obviously Spinda was known for having terrible 60 stats all around. So I did keep 80, 80, and then 95, 95, 95. HP is based a little more on size now, so I didn't want to give it 80 HP. Otherwise, I acknowledge that would have looked better, but it's like not that big, you know. It's 3'7", so I don't see 80 HP on it personally. It's not like it's fat, you know. It's just a cute little baby red panda spotted thing. It's barely a panda. It's just a little bear guy. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, everybody. I hope these changes seem cool to you. If this kind of thing is appealing to you and you like this style of buffing Pokemon or this style of content, make sure you're subscribed if you are not already, if you're new here. And as for my returning viewers, thank you for listening, everybody. I do appreciate it a lot. Again, link to the changes in the description down below. Definitely give those a look. You can also check in on that whenever you feel like it, and you'll be seeing me update it live, which is cool. You can also join my Discord server to see live progress updates on the hack, and you can also talk to people in there, play my older ROM hack in there, that kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you very much for your time, and bye-bye.